Potteries, hello and welcome to another Wednesday and another episode of AC. That's me, Talking Bowls. Thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure, never a chore. So, where to begin? Well, I'll begin as I always begin, guys. If you enjoy this video, please hit that like button. And if you're not already a Bowls buddy and a member of this wonderful community of ours, please hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free of charge. And don't forget to hit the notification bell for notifications of new content on the channel, which hopefully we'll be getting back to 3 or 4 times a week very shortly, because yours truly, me, I'm feeling a bit better, can you tell? And for those of you out there, those cynical types who are saying I'm only feeling better because I don't have to go to work anymore, you couldn't be further from the truth. The fact that I don't have to do anything for the next however long is totally irrelevant, guys. Thanks for joining me. Always nice to chat to nice people, especially when we're talking about bowls. So what to tell you? Well, first of all, yours truly has been duped, but to be fair, so had the majority of the Yorkshire team and management, and Merseyside are not using the wheat sheaf. So last week's video has been pretty much been rendered useless and totally wrong. I even got admonished by Tony Sullivan, who said I should base my videos on facts, not hearsay. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty much taken in by it all as well. But I'll run through the county venues shortly. Also good to get some nice feedback from people who have been looking at the Tuesday tutorials, which I could really do with getting some more of those done. I'm just trying to work out what the best way is to do those. I don't want to be giving all the secrets away. Some of the top players might not be happy, but we'll see. It was really nice. I went over to have a practice for my county game yesterday, and I was talking to a chap who I know, and he said he'd spent a few days down in Norfolk, and they'd went to this little village and sat round a bowling green, and a guy came over, asked them if they wanted to play, and they said, well, no, we're only here for a couple of hours, we're just happy watching. He says, anyway, we're crown green bowlers, we don't play flat green. And the guy says, crown green? I watch a guy on YouTube called Andy Cairns who's a crown green bowler. So there you go, it's a small world, guys. If there's a lot of flat greeners out there watching this, please leave a message, leave a comment, get in touch, because it's nice to know that I'm getting to some far reaches of the country. It's great. And talking about flat green, that's where I'm going to start this week. Myself and Jackson entered the Heaton Park Open doubles, and we played at the weekend, and I was really looking forward to it. Something different. I'd never ever played flat green on an outdoor grass green. I've only ever played indoors, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit shocked. Heaton Park, it's a lovely setup, lovely venue. You can't fault it from that aspect. Unfortunately, the bowling greens are just, I'm going to try and be nice, they're appalling. They're appalling. And the crown greens are actually worse than the flat greens, but I'll get on to that in a minute. We started at 10 o'clock, and the jack that you play with is like a ping pong ball. There's just no weight to it whatsoever. How you're supposed to judge how far you're sending it, I do not know. Anyway, at 10 o'clock, it was like playing on the heaviest, bumpiest green I've ever been on. One end of the rink was wet, one end was dry. You couldn't find the lines. It was a disaster. So the first game, we lost the first set very quickly, but managed to win the second, and we lost out on the last end of the tie break, and it just outrageous pieces of luck went on. 2 lovely guys from Scotland who had travelled down and stayed overnight. In fact, they were staying 2 nights, so they've spent a small fortune getting down there. So we lost out by the narrowest of margins in that game. Next game we played an England international and his mate, who apparently should be playing for England. Wow, we should have beat them in the first set. We had a shot for game to win the match really, and we just ducked out in the first set. Then we didn't score in the second. We got battered 13-0. So we're out of it by this point. We couldn't even qualify as a wild card. But the last game played two guys from the northeast, and we absolutely battered them, 11-2, 11-2. So that was nice. Like I say, the greens weren't good. Pretty bumpy, scabby. They're not true. Everything I ever thought about flat greens was correct. They're just terrible. And I'm sure they're not like that everywhere in the country, or else nobody would play the game, I'm sure of it. But the real disappointing and upsetting thing was nothing to do with the competition. Jason Parkinson organised it really well with help from some of his helpers, Martin Gale, a few others whose names escape me in a minute. But really good, really welcoming, hospitality second to none. But the crown greens by the side, they just looked appalling, absolutely atrocious. They were generally green, but where there were high spots, they were absolutely brown. It looked, parts of the green looked like the Sahara. So the far crown green, which has the big hump in the middle, most of that green is just brown. It just looked dreadful. And the green nearer to the pavilion, which is a bit trickier, I think there's 3 crowns on it, or 3 humps or whatever, all those were brown. But they've spiked it and put grass seed in the holes, and so you've got these little sprouts of grass, green grass coming out, which just look ridiculous. And when I had a quick go, but I only had about 5 minutes, so I couldn't take it any longer. As the ball's going across, they're jumping up in the air and they're hitting these tufts, and I don't know what they're calling it, but let's call it the All England for the sake of it, is being played there in a month's time. I hope they've got some magic in their green fingers, that's all I can say, because they weren't suitable to bowl on, in my opinion. But I do expect a certain level of the greens being nice, really, and with grass on. Anyway, I guess we'll just have to see what condition they're in a month's time. Hopefully they'll get a bit more grass growth, a bit more colour in the greens, a bit of smoothness. And for what I've heard it cost for the greens, somewhere in the region of £120,000, I just hope that it's they turn out nice and useful and usable, because I do think it's a good venue. I'm sure there'll be people moaning about paying £3 for all day parking, but that's a minor thing. I just think the facilities are really good and it's pretty easy to get to, although it is, the entrance where the bowling green is probably the furthest away from the motorway you can be, but it is what it is. I think it's a good venue. Anyway, enough of me prattling about flat green and Heaton Park and all the rest of it. Let's talk about the county games, and I've got them in front of me. I'm just going to run through the fixtures and the venues, and maybe next week I'll talk about my views on who's going to win, who's going to qualify, etc. So we'll start off Yorkshire versus Merseyside Yorkshire, playing their home game at Whitkirk Bowling Club in Leeds. Merseyside are going to Mossley Hill Athletic Club in Liverpool, and as you'd expect, there's some good games on there, some top bowlers on both sides. The interesting thing to note is that for the first time in since probably 1978 or something like that, Bob Hitchens not on the team sheet. I think he's decided to hang his county caps up. He's played an awful lot of games and he possibly doesn't feel he's just up to it anymore, but They brought some new faces in. Yorkshire have got Alex Wolfenden, who's playing really well on a Tuesday night. He's getting his chance. Josh Mordew's playing in the away side. Kevin Burns in the away side. Who else? Somebody else. Oh, Gary White's making his debut as well in the home side at Whitkirk. So should be an interesting day. Potteries versus North Midlands. Potteries are using Dilhorn Bowling Club. I'm wondering if that's the same as Dilhorn Rec. And North Midlands are playing their game on Dunlop number 2, which is another one of their amazingly difficult greens. I don't think there's a lot to pick between those two sides, to be honest, when I've had a look. But I'll have a mull over the next week or so and see what the crack is. South Yorkshire versus Cumbria. South Yorkshire using Cruxmore Recreation in Sheffield, which is a tough green. Played it a couple of times. Nice green but tough. And Cumbria are using Lindell Bowling Club, and already my pal Nick White has been on the phone to me asking me if I've got any small bowls, and there's a few sets going to be travelling up with him just in case it gets silly quick. So Nicky is going prepared for that. Greater Manchester versus Staffordshire. Greater Manchester using Crompton Bowling Club, which has always been a banker green for Greater Manchester. I remember them playing Lancashire in the county final and absolutely bashing them on Crompton. I think they had 11 winners out of 12 and won by 90 odd or something like that. That's another great green when it's in good nick. Very difficult, all about different paces. And Staffordshire are taking Greater Manchester to Woodfield Sports number 1, which again is a tough green, not easy. Interesting side. Maybe Greater Manchester maybe not just as strong as they were, but still they've got a good side out, so that's all to play for there. North Lancs versus Shropshire. North Lancs, we're trying something a bit different. We're playing our home game in the East Lancs area, Great Harwood to be precise, at Rushton Street Bowling Club. And looking at the team, I think there's probably 5 or 6 ex-homesters on playing, as well as a few who have won competitions on there. Shropshire are taking North Lancs to Newport number 2, which is a green I've never been to, so I don't know a lot about it. But interestingly enough, Simon Cowp's playing he's only played a handful of away games for the county as it is, and he's away and he's taking on Callum Rate, so that's a mouth-watering clash. Like I say, I'll give my thoughts on it next week. It's a little bit of a gamble. I'm playing in the home side. I've not played the green an awful lot, but I am putting the hours in, or certainly will be over the next 2 weeks. I'm playing Clay Flatley, who I've played a few times now. It's just nice to be playing somebody different. I normally play Rich Goddard or oh, I forgot his name. I'm rubbish, aren't I? Anyway, Warwick and Worcester versus Lancashire. Warwick and Worcester using the George Bowling Club. Very difficult green indeed. Lancashire playing Bellingham number 1 green, which is a big green, lots of different paces on it. Very easy to get lost on there. And then the last game is Derbyshire versus Cheshire. Derbyshire are using Stretton number 2, which is again a silly green in Burton-on-Trent, very silly. If it's running, it's nearly unplayable. And Cheshire using Castle Sports number 1, which is a good green for Cheshire. A lot of players know it. Again, a difficult up and down green, and it's one of those you either hit or miss it. So that I think all the games look like they could be fairly close, but I suppose we'll see on the day. Depends on the weather, I guess. Also, that's taking place in 2 Sundays' time. This Sunday, the Federation are back in action, and there's a few games taking place. Unfortunately, I have no venues for them. so I can't help you with that, I don't think. Let's have a look. Oh yes, I can. Leeds versus Halifax in Division 1. Leeds are playing at Tadcaster Magnets. Halifax are playing at Elland Wicking Men's Club. Two really good sides battling out there. Division 3, Bradford versus South Lakes. Bradford on Spend Victoria Top Green. South Lakes at Skirton Libs in Lancaster, which is a wonderful green, very tricky. Sorry, my hay fever's just playing up. Then probably the clash of the day, and if you're in the area and you want to see some good ball in either of these venues, you'll be delighted with. Rochdale playing Bury, local derby. Rochdale are playing at Lady Barn Bowling Club in Milnrow, and Bury are playing at Black Lane in Radcliffe, and a certain James Darby Esquire is leading the team out there, and bringing up the rear is Gary Ellis, who's playing his teammate Stephen Leach at number 12. So that's interesting. A lot of good players. Alan Darby, Jimmy's dad, is also turning out as an he's a current member according to this. Division 4, Ormskirk are playing South Lancs. Ormskirk are playing at Ormskirk Bowling Club. South Lancs at Bucks Head at Abram, another very tricky green, played that a few times. Warrington versus Leeds B. Warrington at Orford War Memorial, and Leeds B are playing at Colton Sports in Leeds, I'm guessing. Burton versus Clwyd Dragons. Burton are playing at Netherseal. Clwyd Dragons at Abergelly Bowling Club. And in Division 6 we've got Haywood versus Wrexham. Haywood are playing at Hotwood Sports and Social Club. Wrexham are playing at Exclusion. And I mean, in Division 6, and you've got some really good players playing. Nick Hughes, Ryan Goodman, Nigel Greenhouse, you know, a lot of good players on show. And then Division 7, Cheshire Parks versus File B. Cheshire Parks using Great Moor Sports and Social Club in Stockport. File B are using Norbreck Bowling and Tennis Club in Cleveland. Bradford A playing Southport. Bradford are using Spend Bottom Green, which is a good idea, and Southport are playing at the Hesketh Arms. Division 8, Doncaster B playing East Lancs B. Doncaster B at Armthorpe Welfare. East Lancs B at Rushton Street. Nice run out for the green. And then finally, Burton B versus Eccles DP. Burton are using Belvedere number 2, and Eccles are using Monton Bowling Club. So there's plenty of bowling going on. I know me personally, my season really starts this weekend. Friday night I'm at Ribblesdale. Saturday I've got the North Lancs Merit in memory of Hugh Hornby, and then Sunday I managed to get into the Holdsworth Wicking Men's Club competition at Stockport. So lots happening. The season is really sparking into life now, so it's great to see. Unfortunately my hay fever's playing up, which is bad timing, but never mind. So that's all I've got to say for today and this week. If you've got anything you want me to comment on, anything you want to say, please leave a comment, please get in touch, please message, email, text, whatever. Let me know how you've gone on this week and I'll give you a shout out. Otherwise, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you next Wednesday, if not before. Enjoy the sunshine, stay safe, but get some bowling done. Bye for now.